Hey guys, it's Dawn and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, I would like to talk about books that I would like to finish at the end of the year, including some that I have already started. So let's just jump into my fiction pile first. First we have Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. This is the fourth book in the Stormlight Archive and it just came out last week. So I'm only about 100 pages into this 1,200 page behemoth, but I am enjoying it immensely so far. Not a huge surprise. I first started reading the Stormlight Archive this year, starting around my birthday in June, and kind of binge read the first three, and so you can imagine I love this series already. This is just a continuation of something I already like, so I am enjoying it. I expect it to be at least a 4-star read, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 5-star read. The next book, which I haven't started reading yet, is All the King's Traitors by Keeling Rivers. This is High Wings Book 1. I think Book 2 is coming out soon or has just barely come out. I'm not exactly sure. So this is actually a bonus item that I received in the November Indie Bookworm book box. I'll include a link to that website if you're interested. I don't know a ton about this book. I know it's fantasy. I'm not sure the age category, though this kind of blurb on the back makes me think it's either new adult or adult. I could be totally wrong. I guess I will find out. But I am very excited to read it. I'm trying to read more indie books this year and then in the coming year. Next we have The Lies of Lockemora by Scott Lynch. There is a bookmark sticking out of there. I only got a few pages in before I had to devote a little more time to writing to meet a deadline. So I will come back to it, and then obviously Rhythm of War came out and I got my book box, so it just sort of got pushed further down the line in my TBR, but I will come back. I picked up this one because it's one of Murphy Napier's favorite books, and I tend to trust her opinion, especially after trying a couple things she recommended this year and really liking them, so I'm excited to give it a try. The last fiction book I want to get to, if I have time, is The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. I've never read a book by Amy Tan, so this will be my first one. I picked it up at a library sale, which was pretty fun, and it's a copy in great condition. Side note, library sales are one of my favorite places to get books. So if you have some in your area and you've never checked them out before, I highly recommend you do so. So from my understanding, the premise of this book is that it's set in the late 1940s in San Francisco. It kind of involves these dual stories of these Chinese women who are immigrants to the United States who have a little club that they meet together and kind of gossip. And then they have their own daughters who were born in the United States and kind of have their own experience there. So it's supposed to be kind of these contrasting experiences of the immigrants and the children of immigrants, specifically as far as Chinese immigrants coming to San Francisco. So I am very excited to give this one a try. Next, let's move on to my nonfiction reads. I am super close to being done with this one. This is the Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. It is the abridged version because I just don't know who has time to read the full 3-volume, I think. Maybe it's 2 volumes, but they're massive. But the full unabridged version is quite long, and like a lot of other people, I have so many things I want to read that I wasn't sure I'd be able to get to the full thing. So I picked up the abridged version. I have only about 60 pages left to finish it, but I feel very comfortable at this point recommending it. I think it's a very important book. If you don't know, Gulag Archipelago is sort of this literary, journalistic piece written by, obviously, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who was a prisoner in the Gulag system in the Soviet Union. And it was one of the things that kind of exposed the Soviet Union to the West and sort of hastened toward the end of that, terrible government. This book is very brutal and difficult to read at times, which is why it's taken me so long to read it. I started it back in June and have just been kind of reading it in pieces. I think it is incredibly valuable, and I recommend anybody who is interested or curious about the topic read it. But like I said, I do warn you, it can be quite difficult to read at times. There are some very brutal things discussed, but I do think that there are things that need to be discussed. So I do think that everybody should give it a try. Next, I have Plot and Structure by James Scott Bell. I picked this up used at a thrift store for like a couple bucks, which I was pretty excited about. So ever since joining AuthorTube, I have been very hesitant about trying any of the popular sort of writing advice books that are kind of going around AuthorTube, specifically Save the Cat Writes a Novel. I had this kind of ingrained fear that if I read one of those books, I would sort of take this new method and force it on my writing, and it would ruin kind of the things I had already discovered about myself or the direction I was going, and it would derail my work. So I was terrified to pick up any writing advice books. However, when I read the description of this one, it seemed general enough and non-prescriptive enough that I wanted to give it a chance. So I am enjoying it so far. I'm only like 3 or 4 chapters in, but I do expect to finish it by the end of the year. And if you guys are interested, I would be happy to do a full review once I am finished and let you guys know if I think it's worth picking up. I picked this one up on the same day, actually. It's another sort of writing advice book, but it is The Productive Writer by Sage Cohen. So this one applies to all types of writers, whether it's novelists, nonfiction writers, journalists, bloggers, freelance writers, whatever you are, it does apply to you. And it is specifically catered towards helping writers create a productive schedule, kind of manage their marketing and social media and writing time and all those sorts of things. So I do think it's a very helpful tool, but I will say I think it's more intended for people that are either really close to publication or who are already in the publishing game and just want to step up their game, if that makes sense. So if you're like me and you're kind of still working through your debut novel and you're not sure how soon you're actually going to be jumping into publishing, it might not be that useful, but I still think it's a helpful tool. Lastly, if I have time at the end of the year, which I kind of doubt, I want to get into The Forgotten 500 by Gregory A. Freeman. So this is a World War II piece about a very specific rescue operation that happened during the war. This was a gift from a very, very dear friend of mine, so I want to at least start it by the end of the year since I have been so focused on reading Solzhenitsyn that I hadn't gotten to it yet. So it's something I definitely am going to prioritize. If not by the end of this year, at the very least, I will prioritize it in January. So those are all of the books I'm going to try to get through by the end of 2020. Hopefully I can do it. I'm pretty optimistic that I will at least get through the first 3 of each the fiction and the nonfiction categories, but we'll see about the Amy Tan book and the World War II book. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books and share your spoiler-free thoughts if you feel like it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you have an amazing week, and as always, happy reading. Bye!